Camera for Donny.
Go for Donny.
Sound for Donny.
Go for Donny.
Makeup for Donny.
Go for Donny.
We're both for Donny.
Go for Donny.
Grip apartment for Donny.
Go for Donny.
Or go for Donny.
Go for Donny.
Run to Donny. Go for Donny.
Rutledge Wood. Oh my gosh, you guys. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Go for Donny. This is Rutledge Wood. I'm Donny McGuire. Man, it's so good to see your face. And I'm just looking at these credits real quick from Hot Wheels Ultimate Challenge, Florida's Lava, Lost in Transmission, Hyperdrive, Barbecue Showdown, Southern and Hungry, and of course, NASCAR, Trackside, and How I Know You Best from Top Gear USA. Holy shit, dude.
What's up, brother?
Man, you've been doing some stuff since that last one I mentioned.
I've been busy. It's been nice, but dude, I have missed you so much. First off, none of those other things would have been possible without you, all your hard work. The unsung heroes of these three idiots up here was everybody that worked on our crew. And I know y'all have talked about it. We were all so fortunate to have truly this semi-dysfunctional, but we had a family, and it was a family of people that we were all like, you know what? This is a task that is almost impossible, but we think we can do it, and we're all going to show up every single day and work as hard as we can. And man, I know for me, what got me to Top Gear was just being myself and being a ridiculous goober. And I got lucky and found my way into covering NASCAR, and that opportunity, you know, I interviewed one of the guys from Dukes of Hazzard, John Schneider. That was the thing that landed me in front of. Yeah. I did this interview with John Schneider from the Dukes of Hazzard. This was at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And sitting, I think in the UK still at that time, was our executive producer, John Hessling. And he was watching everybody who'd been on TV for cars in like the last 10 years. And he saw this clip that was loaded onto YouTube by a race fan illegally. Mind you, I don't know who. I never met them because Speed Channel didn't really believe in the internet, which is also what took them down. But this whole interview, I only called John Bo. I refused to call him John. And he was like, no, I'm John Schneider. I was like, no, I'm talking to you, Bo. Duke. I don't. Anyway, so I spent the entire 2 minutes of this interview. We're riding around in an old General Lee around Atlanta Motor Speedway. And I just questioned the nature of the relationship between him and Daisy.
Oh my gosh.
And Hessling's like, well, this guy might be funny. So I don't know if you know, they called me. They had like a person find me. I didn't have an agent. I wasn't in the phone books. I was like a nobody. And this person calls me from the Central Booking Agency, and I was certain that it was a prank call. Because
the
I was like,
what Booking Agency, the CBA.
Yeah. Central Booking Agency. So like, hey, I wanted to talk to you about a TV show. And I was like, good try. You got to come up with a better name for your company next time. And I hung up. And she called right back. Her name is Celia Converse. We're still buddies to this day. And she was like, let's try this again before you hang up on me. And like, we were living out in our first house in Sonoma. I was loading Elsie into the car, who was like 8 months old or something.
Oh my gosh.
And she was like, well, I've been hired to find you. I think I found you. I don't want you to hang up, but let me tell you. And so it turned out like she couldn't tell me what, but I knew it was for BBC. And then, you know, over months and months, I find out it's for Top Gear. And that's how I got a chance to audition, and then somehow ended up with a show. And man, I know we've heard a lot of great stories on here. The fact that you did this, I'm so excited. I'm sorry it took me so long to finally carve time for it. I do have 2 more kids than this guy and 3 more than this guy. So it's, you know, my dad job is the most important one. So that's what's taken me so long. But dude, it's been so cool to see some of the stories come out from all of this insane time we spent together.
Isn't it? I mean, oh my gosh. And it's so funny you said all those good points. I talk about what a good group of people it was and how special it was, what a special time it was, and the camaraderie that we had, and how we all embraced the shit together. Like you guys were there with us, embracing it, eating with us, sleeping with us, sleeping in bunks, double bunks with us on a glacier.
People may not realize so much of our show, and I think y'all did a really good job of saying this. There were a couple times I didn't like how much Adam and David Silberman were like, they knew everything. Y'all knew everything. We knew far less than everybody else. Like, y'all know, anytime there was a race, that was always what happened, start to finish. But like a lot of times, we truly didn't know what was going to happen. You guys did, and you had the poor task of not telling us the most out of everyone, because every direction, all the cues, hey, here's where we're going next. Like, you were always our point person for everyone. Because it's funny, AD has this. I don't think people really understand what an assistant director does. If you've ever seen old clips on The Tonight Show when they would have a plate spinner on, that's the best way I could describe what that position is like. Because you had 2, sometimes 3 radios on. You only have 2 ears, but you had all these things, and you've got to keep camera, audio, production, director, talent, all of these different things in car. You had to keep all of these different plates spinning, but they all move at different frequencies and speeds and timing. And dude, it was so incredible to watch you work. But dude, it was such a motley crew in so many ways. And we literally, it's like we just were this band of brothers and sisters. Because I don't know, have you had Tabitha on yet? I hope you'll get Tab on.
No, I'm working to get Tabitha and Janine on as a pair.
Oh my gosh, and Janine too. So Tabitha Lentil was one of our producers and then executive producers. And Tabitha's incredible.
Yes.
Just Tabitha is from New Zealand, and she worked on the Mythbusters for years, and she's one of the smartest and brightest people I've ever met. She's also like a total babe, and you're out in the desert in the middle of nowhere, and she's like the cute older sister of your best friend, she's untouchable. Also, she's in charge and she's not interested in you, but you just have this constant thing where you just like kind of want her to love you, right? So you're always like, make Tab proud. It had that kind of a vibe where then you've got like, there's you who you're trying to be this conductor of all of these different things. But even when the crap is hitting the fan and it is like the fan blade can't cut through this turd, you are like, all right, guys, and let's start at 3. Here we go. And you've also got a director. It could be Good Hair Gary. I loved seeing him on here running around with his bat. It could be Rupert. There were a couple other cats. Oh, there was that one that was so weird and so angry.
I was thinking about that before we started. I was thinking about, because I was going to ask you later down the road about, some other episodes. And I was thinking of my least favorite episode that I'll just say right now was that one because of 2 things. 1, because of that dude that no one liked. And 2, because you scared the living shit out of me. And I didn't know if you were alive or dead when you flipped. Are we thinking about the same director?
Probably.
Okay.
There was a second one that was real close to that, and we were all like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'm talking too much already, and this is your show. Flipping that super light truck was amazing until the second that it wasn't. Like, that's the most fun I've ever had in a vehicle, combined with the least amount of fun immediately after. And that's literally, it's why they call them the whoops. I was doing great. I was sucking compared to the professionals, but I was doing great. I was hitting all the right spots. I was flying through the air. Like, I had so much fun. And then I caught it a little bit wrong. And this sucker, we used it for the intro of the show, but inside is like, it was like being in an elevator and someone cut the cable. Like, I was just along for the ride. And did Adam talk about that at all? He almost got arrested that day.
I don't think he talked about that. No.
So I don't know the timing of how you want to put this together, but I'm just going to tell you, we're doing this show. I'm out on this track. It's a race, and I flip the truck, and then it lands on the roof, and it flips 3.5 times end over end. And I'm a big dude in this little compartment, and I smack my knee on the transmission tunnel, and I start bleeding through the suit. It's that like top of your shin bone. But so I'm bleeding, but I hit it so hard I can't feel my leg, and it's my right leg. And I've never had anything like that. Like sometimes people say if you hit your funny bone hard enough, you can't feel your hand, whatever. Yeah. So my radio is set all the way up so I can hear Johnson. What's that guy's name? Not Randy. Oh, he's such an off-road legend. I'm going to screw this up. All right, I'm going to figure this out. We have this legendary spotter who's raced everything. He's won everything. He's a friend of Jimmy Johnson's. And he's in my radio, but that was a Mazda rotary, which is super loud, has basically no exhaust. And my radio is set to where I can hear him over the rotary. Well, now that I've flipped it over and it's shut off, all I can hear is him like inside my soul going, dude, you okay? You okay? Dude, Rut, dude, you okay? And I'm hanging upside down and I'm trying, because I've got a Hans device on too. I'm hanging upside down and I'm trying to find the button. And then finally I find it on the steering wheel and I'm like, yes, I'm okay. Stop talking. You're so loud. And there's a guy at the window net and he's like, hey man, do you want me to flip you over so you can keep going? And I just yelled back, I want to go to a hospital because I can feel blood and I can't feel my leg. I'm pretty sure I broke it. I'm just hanging upside down. No, I don't want to keep going. Why do people do this? Get me out of here. So it was like the just life's cruel fat kid joke wouldn't stop. They just kept having to like rock the truck back and forth to flip it over. I don't know if you remember that. So they finally flip it over. They pull me out. And then they're like, oh yeah, you're bleeding, man. Yeah, thanks. No kidding. So they put me in the ambulance and they get me like over to the side. And that's when Adam runs across the hot track to the ambulance to go check on me. Now it was like, he just cut a corner basically. He wasn't like running on the track.
Oh, I remember. No, I remember that. We did. Cause we got in a ride to that part. And I remember him running over there.
Yeah. Well, the cops didn't appreciate that. So they tried to get upset with him. Now, meanwhile, they had like red flagged all the activity because they've got to pull my truck off and everything else. So we get in the ambulance and one of the guys is a huge Rutledge Wood fan, huge NASCAR fan. And he is blown away that now I'm in his ambulance and it's just going to be our time. And he's like, man, this is what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be at Talladega? And I was like, yeah, I'm racing. So, and the other guy's like, yeah, we need to check this out. And he's like, yeah, I got it. And he's like, man, why do you think Jim Johnson's going to win this year? Like, he just goes on this NASCAR diatribe, right? Oh my gosh. So finally, the other guy who's clearly in charge in the ambulance is like, hey, man, I think you should probably check him out if he's in here. And the guy picks up my arm and he goes, look, he's fine. So I somehow, they like hand me back to y'all 10 minutes later or whatever, right? And you guys walk me back to our little camper setup or whatever. And at this point, the adrenaline's coming down and I am getting real sleepy. And that was the point y'all realized, oh man, nobody checked this dude for a concussion. I'm just walking around like half drunk because I don't know what happened. This sucker shook my whole brain around. And eventually I get checked out and they're like, I think he's okay, but I don't think he should get back in. So that was a real exciting end to my my time. And Adam's whole concern was leaving there, going to the hotel. He knew I needed to get in the bathtub and like they told me to soak in the tub. And I think put like Epsom salt in there, try to get some of the swelling to go down. Because it hurt my back at the same time. I had back surgery when I was 20. So like Top Gear is really just how bad can Rut's back hurt every week. But Adam was so concerned that he was going to have to get me out of the tub naked. And I was like, that's the last thing I'm...
That's your concern.
Yeah, that's the last thing. But that one, the best part is I fly home the next morning. I land in Atlanta. And it was one of those weird times. The Atlanta airport is so big. But it was like I landed at the farthest gate of E. And you've got to come back down the alphabet up to A, and then there's T, and then there's the terminal. And I'm walking. It took me like an hour. It's the longest I've ever been in the Atlanta airport without flying somewhere. And I had to have my dad take me to the hospital because I need to go get x-rays. And as I'm in there, and the show's doing great at this point. Everybody's loving it, which is amazing. But I'm in there, and the guy's like, hey, man, you kind of look like that guy off Top Gear. And I was like, yeah, man, that's me. He's like, oh, can we get a picture? I was like, yeah, dude, can I get some pants on though? Because this gown is cold. Oh and x-raying my back.
You're like, come on, man. Can I just get some clothes on before I get a picture with you?
It just never ended. So yeah, we've had some real times.
Well,
for sure.
It's so funny you say that. We always wanted to hurt you because we went from that show, and I just jarred my memory. We went to Death Valley after that because you had to have some cushion or something.
Oh yeah, I probably did. Yeah, I basically needed a
Like a
butt
donut.
cushion for my back. I didn't have the roids or anything. It's just like my I had bruised my tailbone. That's what it was.
Yeah.
On that dang seat. Yeah, I was too much. I was too big for the little super light, but what a fun truck that was.
Oh my God. Well, you scared the shit out of me and everyone else, and I just remember the director from that. I thought it's the one you're talking about because that's the one you were like, no. And it's so funny how, going back to camaraderie in our group, man, people will come in, and some people will come in and they would stay. They would stick. It was like they were never, ever not there. And but there were a few that would come in and they would get cycled out pretty quick, either by choice or just they didn't.
There was one. Okay, here's one of the toughest jobs. Our friend Jay in audio, love Jay. Jay's just one of the sweetest dudes I've ever met. He is kind. He is caring. The hardest job, I think, about being an audio person is you're in every single conversation, but you are to never speak because he's got to listen to stuff all day long. And people be like, no, I know where the best pizza is. And meanwhile, you want to be like, no, it's Joe's on second. And you can't.
Yeah.
Because we had one dude real early on, I don't know if you remember him, he kept trying to talk to us in between stuff. And we were all like, what is this dude doing?
Who was that? We were talking about. Oh, we were talking about him. Who was that?
I don't know. He couldn't have been nicer, for the record. But the issue is, if you're in this space and we're all looking here, you and we can have those conversations. You walk up and you're, yeah. But like if the dude over here is doing it, it's really the three of us together. Our ADD, when our powers combine, it's like, wind, water, baseball, monster truck. Like, it was so hard to keep us on task because you got to remember the hours we essentially worked. I think we were a union show in that I had to pay dues to be a part of it and then get union credit.
Oh my God. That's so ridiculous.
Dude, I didn't have insurance. It was such a mess, but we essentially worked sun up to sundown every single day the entire time we knew each other. Now let me rephrase that. We shot sun up to sundown.
Wait. Do you know what the name of the production company was?
Sun Never Sets. Yeah.
Production. Yeah. Okay.
No kidding. I mean, dude, it was some of the longest. I thought it was the longest hours I'd ever worked until I went to the UK and did that Hot Wheels show. And I was like, oh, this is what a non-union show looks like. Dang, man. Whew.
Yeah, right.
Had a great time, though.
Had a great time. And then you come back and you're like, well, I know what life is really like on the other side.
It's amazing to think, man, we spent, it was 7 years we were all doing this. And with little breaks here and there. But, we made 72 hours of television as a group together.
Damn.
And it's unbelievable to think. And it's funny, the bummer about our show is we didn't stop doing the show because it wasn't doing well. And I don't know how much that's been discussed, but really we were just a casualty of Jeremy Clarkson being an asshole, which is surprising because that's also what made him enjoyable. But I don't know can we say Clarkson?
Of course.
Kidding.
I'm trying
to bleep the other word. So because he got fired and started the whole panic in the UK, essentially what happened was BBC went to history and they were like, hey, we need more money to keep this show going. And originally it had been a 5-year, 50-show deal, and we kept adding on to it, right? So, and I'll be clear, the money wasn't going to the three of us. There's a reason we all had to have other jobs. So it was definitely a cable show. But in this panic, the smart move would have been for BBC to just pause and not panic. They could have put our show in as a rerun over there and bought themselves some time. But that was when they made their first huge mistake of no, we're going to put 19 people on the new Top Gear. And then no one understood it. And it just went down and down and down from there. But for us, it was just history going, no, we'll pay the same. We can keep going. and BBC won more money, and they got in this weird kind of pissing contest. And then BBC was essentially like, we don't need you. We'll go on and do it without you. The problem is that when you have a brand like us, and we were so established in this country, every network they went to at the time was like, cool, so we're going to get Rut and Adam and Tanner. That's great. And they're like, well, not exactly, because they're still tied to history. We were tied to history and we were tied to BBC at the same time because it was a co-production, right?
Of course.
BBC put in their money. History put in their money. History had it for Canada here, and I think most of Latin America. And then BBC had it for the rest of the world. And the way the BBC, that's kind of their model, or used to be, is that they would sell these shows around the world that they make somewhere and get money from someone else, and then their half would come from the distribution and how they sell it everywhere else. Well, then they get into this like shouting match about our show, and we go on this weird like 2-year kind of pause because we're under contract, we can't do anything, but they kind of want the show back, but they don't want to pay more. And History's like, no, we'll just pay the same. And so we got into this weird thing that then when they tried to shop the show, nobody wanted it without us. And so then finally when the contracts were done, they're like, we'll show you guys, we'll put it on BBC America. And you worked on that, right?
Yep.
That one was messed up because, and I'm not going to say anybody's names, but I called the dude that was in charge, who had been with us for, he'd probably been there 5 years. And I really liked him. But I made the point of like, these are our people. This is like my family, and you're taking my family out, but you just put like a new mom and dad in, and you're acting like we didn't exist. And I was like, bro, we know y'all have been in pre-pro and we've known all this stuff, but y'all didn't call us and tell us you were going to go do this. And that felt like that was a great lesson for us for the business, I think, is that I wouldn't do that guy's podcast, right? It doesn't mean I wouldn't be friends with him, have a good conversation, but I certainly wouldn't go to any extra lengths to try to help him or be friends with him. Everybody else on our group was like, we were all talking, like, hey, here's what's going on. And because it wasn't about me, all 3 guys that they had do that next iteration were all friends of mine. And I was like, cool. Hey, here's what you need to know. Donnie's your guy. Go to him for all of these things, whatever. Also, BBC does not care about you. If you die, they will just box you up. And I don't mean that in a mean way.
Right.
They're just, if you're not British, their ability to care, it's a much smaller bucket than if you are British. And that's great. I'm happy for them about it. But, and like my buddy Antron Brown was on there.
Antron, I'm trying to get him on the show. Yeah.
I love Antron.
He's such a great dude.
But like I had to call AB because we'd gone through all these different like logo battles. It's tough when you'd watch the UK show like we all did and love that show. But like, one of those guys could show up wearing an Under Armour shirt or TRD or Polo or whatever, and they can wear it. And then here, those of us that were employed by other groups, like me, I've been with Toyota for 14 years at this point. Tanner had been with, gosh, we started, it was Ford when he started.
Ford, that's right, yeah.
Right? And he used to make fun of my love for classic Volkswagens, and guess who he still works for? Oh, the irony was never lost on me there. But like, we'd wear something remotely smaller, like Tanner would try to wear his Rockstar suit, and they would go crazy. So I called Antron, I was like, hey, bro, you are a top fuel dragster. That's what you race. If you get in a fire suit, it better be your fire suit. If not, don't get in one. He's like, I don't know. And they said I can't wear one. And I was like, nope, you're not going to do it. He was like, for real? I was like, no, you're going to say no. And they're going to be like, no, you can't. And you're going to say no again. And then they're going to let you. And he's like, okay, guess what happened? I knew it, you jerks. So like, there was a lot of that stuff that is hard to make sense of. And some of it is American TV. And some of it is, oh gosh, I used to battle our legal person, and whoever it was sucked so much at BBC America. And then they left, and I think they ended up at the same agency that I used to be at. And I was so mad about that. Cause I'm a dude that made it in this industry, and on paper I should not have. Like I didn't work in LA and wait tables and, try to like get a commercial, like, even though that was always my dream, that's not what I did. I was like, if I make it on TV, it's got to be from Atlanta. And you saw when we got to come here and shoot a few times, like this is my
Yeah.
this is my world, this is my life. So there were a couple times when I was just like, I don't know if y'all know this, but like I'm gonna just go do something else. Like I'm gonna be okay here. But y'all can't treat me like a person that doesn't have value or exist or whatever. And so anyway, they do that show, they put on BBC America, and that sucked for Bill Fichtner too and Wookie because nobody watched BBC America unless it was for like Doctor Who.
Yeah, Doctor Who. Yeah, they're not turning in to watch an American program.
Yeah, and I was like, that's such a great lesson for all of us, at least about like, the people at the time, and I'm not saying this is a blanket statement for BBC, but the people at the time, their pride destroyed that brand.
Yeah.
And made a mistake. So then I'm having dinner at my friend Dax Shepard's house one night because we became friends doing the BMW 10 series.
Yeah.
Were you on that one?
Yeah, I was with Sean Hayes.
What a great time.
Yeah.
We took a BMW 7 series and welded a 3 series to the roof. And Dax was steering. I was doing the gas and brake on the car. And it was so funny because if we ever watched that show, I had loved him forever. Just huge fan. And he shows up in his Lincoln that day. And there's very few times I think in my life that I have been starstruck, but he's not like Dax is one of us. Like Dax is a car guy that like absolutely has made it. But like, if you look at the arc of his life, like he's such a great example for dudes and humanity and understanding like vulnerability and things I'm good at and things I'm not, like all of those things. And I even heard him I heard him talk about why Top Gear was difficult for him and why, he had to make some apologies because he came into it going I've come from this one world and then I got over here and it was not like that. And I got, oh, okay. That was it. But he also got to that place where time of his life. And anyway, I just had so much fun doing that with him. But I was there shooting something for the Olympics and I was having dinner at his house.
I'm sorry, wait, can I stop for a second? You were doing something for the Olympics? Like something like hosting stuff? God, I forgot to mention that. Sorry.
Yeah. So I moved to NBC in 2015. And so I covered the Rio Olympics in 2016, Pyeongchang in 2018, then the delayed Tokyo Olympics, which was 20 to 21. So I think this was maybe for the Winter Olympics, if I look at the timeline of it. We would go and do these fun events in LA where you'd get all these athletes together and you do fun kind of things with them. And anytime I'm out there, because Dax and I became friends on the show, I'd always text and say, hey, I'm in town. What are you doing? So I'd try to go see him when I'm out there. And I was asking how's work going? Like, what's new with you? And I knew that there had been talks that Top Gear was going to come back again. And he said, well, actually, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. And my chin dropped. I was like, you're going to do Top Gear, aren't you? And he's like, well, with your blessing, this is something I'd like to do. And I was like, bro, I'm the last person's blessing you need. But it was so kind. And then we kind of had to talk about like, well, what, could you be a part of something like that? And I was like, I can't, because this is Top Gear to me. Like Adam and Tanner are my brothers. It doesn't mean I can't do another car show, but like, if we're talking about 3 idiots in cars, like these are my idiots. Yeah. I'm 1/3 idiot of, 3/3. So it was so cool to see that process. And I had a bunch of other friends. Jared DeAnda auditioned for that show. He would have been great for it. Chris, what's his name?
Evans?
Chris Forsberg was in the mix. My buddy Jared DeAnda. There were a lot of people that I knew that were in the mix for the show. And I was so happy they were doing it. But the number one thing that I was mad about is that Kristen Bell is one of my favorite humans on the planet. She is just one of the sweetest, kindest, most lovely people I've ever met. And Dax is somehow lucky enough to be her better half. I was so mad that they didn't just make one commercial for the show before it went on Discovery that was like, hey, by the way, this is like every dude's favorite dude, and this is every gal's favorite gal. Turns out they're married, and guess what? One of them has a new show. Like, it was such a no-brainer, and she's the kind of person that if they had just asked like, hey, do you think Kristen would do a promo for your show? She absolutely would have. And they didn't do it. And I was so mad about that. I was like, that alone could have absolutely unlocked a new level, because we didn't have that. Like, we're just like, hey, we're the three idiots who aren't pretending to be those other dudes, you know? Like, we didn't have any of that good mojo. So I loved that he got the chance to do it. And a lot of our friends got to be a part of it. Did you work on that one?
Not that one. I don't think so. I think I just did the BBC America one. Did a few episodes. Enough to get to know Antron.
Yeah, I love Antron, man. AB's such a good dude. And we've been Toyota brand ambassadors together for so long. Like, I get to go to all sorts of fun events with him, but he's just great people, man. And he's crazy. So yeah, it's crazy to think about the arc and like what happened, but it's just funny when you're like, oh, we're on a show that, I mean, we got canceled, but not for bad performance, or we didn't get canceled. Like, it's just a weird thing to be like, so why'd you guys end? Well, it's kind of two companies got in a fight, and you're like, okay. Yeah. And the fact that we haven't brought it back when there's still reruns that air.
Yeah, I love it. I'll catch it. I'm just sit there and watch, and just the memories that come back. I mean, I know for you're there, but I mean, it's just, I can remember exactly what we're doing in that scene and like what happened, and maybe something that didn't happen that should have happened. You know, it's really cool.
There's so many, man. I've not, my daughters are 16, 14, about to be 11, and they've only seen a handful. Like, I think Elsie, the oldest, I think she watched a few when they'd be airing and stuff, but not, I don't think she's seen that many. She's heard people talk about it her whole life, but it's funny. Like, I need to really sit down and like watch all of them. The funny part about cable and why TV is robbery and theft in so many ways is that our show has changed channels that it's played on that have all been some sort of part of History Nanny in some way. We don't get a dime from them. Like, we've never seen any money. If you're watching in another language anywhere, I'm like, what a joke TV is in that way. But that's the charm of it, So
it's a double-edged sword. You're watching it because you're like, oh, that's really cool. But you're like, yeah, I wish I was getting paid for that.
Yeah. And it's funny when people will send you pictures, like you said, like people will be like, oh man, this show's on. And you're like, oh gosh, I totally forgot that we tried to like drift a food truck once and we didn't flip it over. What a miracle.
The shit that we didn't do to each other. I mean, both Tanner and Adam brought up Iceland. Many different things.
Wow.
Iceland of trying to, in the story, get you lost, right? Or get you stuck. And then we actually got stuck, and then you were like...
Yeah, we got stuck on the way to get stuck.
Dude, you were so pissed. I have some video of that I played. It's so funny because Tanner was calling it, basically, and you were like just so fucking pissed off, man. Like what the fuck were you doing?
I just couldn't believe. That was one of the only times that someone was always... Rarely were they like, hey, do this ridiculously stupid thing. It was normally just... go that direction, and stupidity would find us. Because again, when you hand three dummies cars that we know are going to go to a junkyard later, that's where the magic happens. So the fact that someone's like, oh yeah, we're going to go this way. And I was like, okay, well, what do we do? And they're like, well, there's a good place we think you guys could get stuck up here. And I was like, we're on the side of a glacier. What good could happen? I don't think there's enough footage of whatever the night was. You remember, there was some sort of hill we were supposed to get up.
Yep.
But the problem was with the three of us in the weight of Tanner's Bronco, it wouldn't move forward. So we were like, oh, we got to get out to push. Well, we could make it move if we pushed slightly. But the snow was like, I don't know, 2 feet deep.
It's horrible.
And it's pitch black. And here's Adam and I. We are not professional racers. We are in okay shape. But I remember distinctly believing I'm going to have a heart attack while Adam has a heart attack behind this Blazer. Tanner will never even know. Because he's like, come on, guys. And he's in the driver's seat. And I just want to be like, get your ass out. And I'm sure I threatened that multiple times. But we were trying to get up some hill in the dark. I don't even know. I don't know where we were going. I don't know what we were doing. I don't know if anyone pointed out when we were in Iceland, which was so beautiful. And I cannot wait to go back. We had to have a plan of evacuation. Did y'all talk about that?
No.
Okay, so I don't know if you remember this, and you always were a part of the safety meetings, right? They had a person there who basically told us, okay, so this volcano has gone off like clockwork every 50 years, except it's about 20 years overdue, and we think it's going to go any day. And we're like, by the way, we're in our stuff. Y'all had the real gear. I was wearing my orange down jacket this morning, and my chiropractor's like, that's a jacket you wore to Iceland, wasn't it? I was like, yeah, look at you. So we're in like half jackets. Y'all are in the real stuff, right? You had like a trench coat that was this thick. It was amazing. I don't know. And
we had all that. We were kitted out by Eddie Bauer. We had all the Eddie Bauer gear, and we had the over jackets. You guys just had the under jackets. So
y'all had like snow
show.
dusters.
Yeah,
you had never looked better.
Yeah, it was like we were like happy and so comfortable and warm in those things.
Yeah,
especially when
freezing
we were changing
our balls off,
changing the axle
time.
On the Ford Bronco on the side of the hill that dug down and used the battery from the other laser or something. Yeah, good times. Scout.
You remember it was so much fun. But while we were there, we go to the safety meeting as we're about to go up this thing. And they basically said, so if it starts to erupt, here's what you need to know. You've got 3 hours to get down and out of harm's way. And we're like, okay. They said, now, the obvious thing is going to go the way you came and go right down to this valley leading towards the beach. Don't go that way. Because once it starts to erupt, it's going to melt the glacier that's on top there and create a flash flood, and it's going to head straight towards the beach. So you can't be on this side. So when you evacuate, you need to go the other direction. And we're like, 3 hours? It took us 3.5 days to get up. What are we going to do with 3 hours? Make that squid ink pasta again?
Oh, that squid ink pasta. Yeah. Oh my God.
And why when you... I don't know what it was in me. I think it's because I knew I trusted you and I loved you and I knew I felt safe. I'm not sure why the two biggest dudes on the crew chose to bunk together in that tiny cabin that we had to break into. We didn't break into it. It was iced over. We did break through.
Thick ice we had to break through. You guys had to do that on camera first.
And then you remember it had a bathroom in the sense that there was a bucket with a trash bag in it.
I went outside.
Yeah, but it smelled so bad when we got in there. We're like, finally, we're going to get in somewhere warm. And you're like, oh, God, it's a fresh turd in here. Oh, what do we do? I still love it. If you look at that shot, what was the guy that did, what was my man? He rode motorcycles. He had tats. He would do the time-lapse stuff. So our like 5D operator is outside.
Yeah.
Doing the Northern Lights. And if you watch the show, I was inside that cabin and I was like, I have to go out and see him. And I told myself I'm going to go stand outside as long as I can. So I put all of I think I got your coat.
Yeah.
So I put everything on I could and I go outside. And if you're watching that show, when they have the locked off, like super wide shot of the Northern Lights, you can see this little like stick figure run out and stand there. And in the shot, I'm probably there for like, I don't know, 15 seconds. I was out there for half an hour. I was out there till I couldn't feel my body anymore. And I was like, okay, now I have to go. Because I had never seen anything like that.
That was rad. I mean, that was amazing.
Extraordinary.
Right? Passed a bottle of whiskey around before the snoring commenced. The symphony.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how we got any sleep.
I mean, I don't think we did.
Somebody left and slept in one of the cars, and it was so
most of the drivers slept in the cars. I think Geesley slept in his truck.
Oh, Geesley, love that guy.
Rupert may have slept in the truck. It's either that or he was sleeping in one of the raft, the loft with all the other people who were up there, away from us in the double bunks.
Dude, that was crazy. And you remember I don't know if it's the next day. It might have been the next day. We slept in this cabin that was like a fortress. It was, do you remember that huge one?
Yeah. Yep.
That place was incredible. Except we got there at like 2 a.m. and left at 6. Like it was such a joke for what was going on. We're like, oh, this place is awesome. Great. Go to sleep. We have to leave in 30 minutes.
That's Iceland in a nutshell. I mean, but we, and then at the end, when we were done filming, when we wrapped, principal photography, that's when you three went off to go just, I don't know, do some donuts or turn around or something.
No, it was Rupert. He said, I have an idea for one more shot. Do you remember where you
That's
were?
right. One more shot. Oh.
Do you remember where you were?
Yeah, I was up top. I was up with everyone.
No, you were standing next to me.
Oh no.
We were all eating, and Rupert's like, "Oh, I want to get one more shot." You and I were over here, and you're like, I was like, "Do I have to go?" And you're like, "No, man, no. We're done." We had called it,
wrapped,
right?
yeah.
And so, 80 yards away from us were those two, and he's like, "Yeah, I just want you guys to turn here." And I was like, "Somebody else can do it in my car. We're done."
done.
I heard we were done. We were wrapped. And I think y'all are starting to crack drinks open and stuff, and all of a sudden the truck falls in the crevasse.
Fucking nuts, man. Insane. Like such an insane moment.
I've heard Adam tell that story so many times, and I just remember living on the other side, that 80 yards away, being like, Donny, but this can't be real life. We were done. Why would they? What is happening? And then, like, the best part is that recovery team is so chill. They're like, okay, no need to worry. Here we go. Boop, boop, boop. They're like, this is what we trained for. Meanwhile, he's basically like, he was so close to living the movie Frozen, like. Because I don't know if people can understand, when we would see one of these little crevasses, it looks like this endless chasm of ice and diamonds and crystal. Like, it just looks like it would never end. And he's in this
Huge
shitbox old huge truck that he shouldn't be in the first place. And the headlights are just flashing down into essentially a vast nothingness. It is just reflection on, and so I'm sure he stared death down. That's not the only time. You remember crossing Lake Ontario, we almost lost Adam.
Oh sweet Jesus. Oh my god.
Amphibious cars a whole other.
Yeah, no, I actually have we talked about that. I had footage, showed the footage. Graham Sherrington was our director. We were on a chase boat. There was one boat, I think Graham was a camera boat was between us and you guys, and Adam when he went down, and we had to look at the footage on the monitor from the helicopter. That's how we knew. I mean, it was nuts, and you saw how quick it was, and then you came up.
Here's what it would be. It would be like if I look here, and then when I turn back, you're gone. If you watch the show, I can't process, like, the footage in the show is, I just start laughing. I was like, where's the Jeep? Like, and they're like, it's gone. I was like, no, gone where? I literally turned my head and he's in the water and the thing had vanished. And when you see that shot when y'all are in the helicopter, it just looks like someone just goes, whoop.
Just sucked it right down. And he walks right up and out of it. Oh my God.
It was insane. And the fact, like, and he smashed his leg. Thank God he wasn't wearing a seatbelt for once, but he smashed his leg on the windshield, which I think is why he had to go to the hospital that night. But, and I'm not sure if y'all talked about it, but we had to have recovery efforts was a part of the deal with the Coast Guard for being there shooting whatever. But that was the most boat of the three of them. Like, that was the one that they thought was going to be smooth sailing the whole way, which is why we had thousands and thousands of dollars of equipment strapped to it.
Yep.
So because we had to put in efforts, I think we spent like 30 grand, I think was what the charge was. It's just ridiculous. But we had to pay this team to go look for it. And essentially they said the way that the Niagara Falls flows and the push of the water, they said if it goes, I think it was like, well, if it goes about 500 feet this way, then we'll find it about a mile and a half to the right. But if it goes past 500 feet that way, we'll never find it because it's just too deep and it drops off and you'll never be able to get anything that side. It's gone. And we were all like, I'm sorry, what? So Adam could have just literally been gone, just vanished.
Disappeared to the abyss.
Can you imagine? Like, hey, so not only did we kill Adam, we lost him. Like, that would have been the worst thing in the world. Oh my God. To just process that. And that poor guy, I mean, let's be honest. Adam's charm is that he doesn't know what he's doing with most things that you hand him like that. And people, it's funny. Sometimes people would give him a hard time, be like, he's not a car guy. I was like, my ass, he's not a car. He loves cars. But loving cars and being able to do articulate things with them, those, like, if you look at where Adam is and where Tanner is, I'm somewhere in between. I'm certainly closer to Tanner's
Tanner than
side.
them.
Adam did figure out that after like season 2, and you know this, I quit riding in the car with him because he's such a bad driver that like we'd be going like back and forth to LA or doing like a shoot 45 minutes outside of town, and I was like, I just can't do it. Y'all, I was like, someone come up with an excuse, send him home, and put me in a car with a stranger. I would have rather ridden with a PA than this guy that I would trust my life with most of the other time. I just couldn't. Him on the 405. Oh, it was too much. But he knows this, and he still loves me.
God, that's funny. I mean, we have, in all fairness, we poor Adam. We have. I want to do an episode where it's an episode about how many times we tried to kill Adam, because
It's almost every show, it feels
Yeah.
like. I mean,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. There were a handful of times where people thought I had like the weakest stomach in the world, and I think that you could vouch because you were there. That's not the case. Tanner would deliberately try to make me barf. One of those, do you remember we did a thing for like the video game awards that you were a part of?
uh-huh.
They have these cars that when manufacturers have a car that's brand new and it's pre-production, a lot of times they call them crushers. So the idea is that the car has to be legally destroyed once this window of time that's pre-negotiated or whatever, once this time is done. And so they brought us 2 Dodge Challengers, and one of them was a crusher. And I don't know if the second one was or not, but you remember we used one for like a interior or something. The other was an exterior. And then they were like, all right, cool, we got it. Now you can really hit it. And we were trying to spell out, Forza or something?
Forza, yeah.
Okay. And I think it was for the video game awards. And it's just Tanner and I in this car. And even the stuff that he didn't need to, he was just violently throwing the car left and right. And I was like, bro, we just had lunch. This doesn't feel good. He's like, no, Donnie's going to love this. And meanwhile, y'all are over there like, this isn't even going in the chute.
Don't need it, yeah.
This doesn't connect to the other parts. So we just keep trying to ramp this car. That was one of many. And there was a time, all right, so we did, I think it was the Donald Trump show. Were you on that one?
I was not. No, I was not.
What?
Yeah, I know. Of all the shows in New York.
So that was the time. Did McFarlane talk about when he got kicked out of the bowling alley?
I think he did. Yeah. I think he did.
So I had forgotten a couple times that we as a crew, because this was our family, when there were fun times and things we needed to celebrate, we celebrated as a group. And that could have been out in the desert, passing a bottle around or whatever. But we were in upstate New York and doing this ridiculous show where we were trying to buy a celebrity a car, but we didn't know who the celebrity was. And it turned out to be Donald Trump. This was 2012, I think. And I had this Lamborghini that was a former rental car, and the transmission and the clutch were just destroyed, dude. And so the best part is it's an automatic car, but it has a clutch, and it's basically like it got a little gremlin in there that does it for you, is the best way I could describe it, right? That thing was destroyed. And so if you got on it at low RPMs, the car would start to violently buck. And Tanner, because he's a jackass, is using this as like a constant show point. Be like, this guy can't even drive. And I'm like, it's not me. The car is destroyed. It spent its life in Miami, with all these people pretending they had money driving around. So we're trying to drive this thing around, and we're on like some little farm. There's goats, whatever, and they keep driving slow, and all morning long, this car just bucking. Well, we had been out at this bowling alley till like 2 a.m. for some reason. McFarlane, who's one of the producers, he gets thrown out of the bar, the bowling alley, and then ends up throwing a boomerang with the guy that kicked him out. Like, it's the most ridiculous thing. But so as we're watching the show, I didn't remember as I'm watching that you see me drive the thing, and then I was like, oh, this car sucks. And you see me barf like out of the Lambo. It's because I was hungover.
No way.
I'm like, what?
What?
And I'm like a 3-drink, Billy. I don't need a big drink to have a good time. I'm already an idiot. So I just laugh looking at some of those. Plus, season 1 when we did Did you go to Alaska?
No, I did not. I was on season 2.
Okay. I don't even know if we had an AD
I don't think you
before
did.
you.
I don't think you did because I came on. Our old line producer, I'm sure you know. I came on as like a production manager AD, and I'm
Mm,
like, and I started doing it. And I'm like, I can't do both. Like you're asking
yeah.
me to be two, and I couldn't. And that's where we brought Ryland on. I think Rybear.
Oh, Rybear.
Yeah,
Love
and then
that guy.
he was coordinating and stepped up, and so but
That's right. Okay, so season 1, we'd gone to Alaska, one of my favorite shows we ever did. But I had this Dodge Ram, and we went to do voiceovers like, I don't know, 3 months later. All the editing's going on, whatever. Well, we had our wrap party on, like, let's say a Thursday night. Well, Friday morning, I'm slated to be in the VO booth. So I'm reading the VOs. Excuse me. This could make me sound like I had a problem. I didn't. I may have been a little overserved on the wrap party from the night before, and I'm reading this thing, and I don't catch that. Like, I always joke, someone with a Prius wrote one of the facts wrong. So they said this Dodge Ram had a 5.7. It doesn't. It had a 5.9. But dude, even still to this day, when that show airs, and I say, "Oh, it's got the 5.7 V8," every Mopar bro in the world comes
no.
after me, and they're like, "You idiot! Everyone knows it's a 5.9. You're not even a car guy." And the whole time I'm just like, I've written back so many times, like, "Brother, I'm so sorry. I was hungover, didn't catch it. I know it had a 5.9.
You're absolutely
Chevy's
right.
got the 5.7. Like, you're totally right, man. Don't know what to tell you, but I still love cars. I just didn't catch that. But yeah, we've had so much loyalty for the fans over the years. It's been insane.
Well, we also met some loyal fans when we got to Mount Charleston after a Death Valley shoot, as I'm sure you recall. For those of you that don't know, we filmed an episode and drove through Death Valley. Rutledge tried to drive through Death Valley. Adam failed miserably when we first started. And then went from Death Valley up to Mount Charleston and then ended up in Vegas. But when we got to Mount
Yes.
Charleston, from the drive from Pahrump, Nevada to Mount Charleston, I was lucky enough to get to chauffeur you, Adam, Tanner, Rutledge, and Tabitha up to Mount Charleston in this motorhome that we'd rented for you guys. So
The best part is when you hear, like, "Oh, guys, I got us a motorhome." You're like, "We have arrived. Finally, this is it." And also we showed up and we're like, this is it? Oh.
it's a little like a 30-foot pusher or something, like
Yeah, it's
really
like,
basic, like pretty boring.
dude, it was like a Class C, like with the cab over thing, right? Like, it was just like an Econoline van. We looked like we were in Road Rules, 50 Feast Road Rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was that trip. We were trying to get from basically where we started. We drove off the highway. We were going to try to get to Vegas while never crossing a road again, which you can almost do. I made a tank track out
That's
of
right.
carpets
Smart
for my
carpet.
Blazer. I ended up buying that Blazer years later.
Of course.
But yeah, we got there, and we were lucky to have some really loyal fans. Those particular fans had just gotten married. Mind you, we were there on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it was midweek. Yeah, it was kind of bizarre that there was a wedding reception going on in the bar of the hotel we were staying at.
And why? And it's on a resort. That's not. They don't ski out there, right? No.
Yeah, it's a ski resort.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That makes sense. There's definitely the time of year we were there. There is definitely no snow. So it's out in the middle of nowhere. It's out in the middle of nowhere, and here's this wedding party. I think people say this is my throat chakra because I'm trying to decide how truthful I want to be about this. Allegedly,
I like that.
allegedly, the wedding party, huge fans Top Gear, began offering all of us drugs. And we were all like, "What? No. Also, the last place on earth I would take drugs from a stranger if I was into that would be here on a weeknight where you just got married." Like, everything about what was going on was so weird. And I don't know what they had, maybe ecstasy. I'm not sure. I don't mess with anything like that, but it was just the weirdest thing. And it just kept feeling like, man, this night's getting late. And then I'm pretty sure there was some karaoke. And allegedly, I may or may not have ended up on a pool table singing with a cue? I'm not sure.
Possibly, I don't know. I've heard the word on the street is it's possible.
Word on the street. And then I think what happened was I was like, yeah, this is too much fun for me. I'm going to go to bed. And I think Adam pieced out before that because Adam's not much of a party animal. And Tanner stayed up with Rupert. Did you stay up as well?
No. Oh no,
Okay.
no. I was an adult. I was the
Yeah.
AD.
That's right. You
'Cause we had
and
to,
really you were
film the
holding,
next morning. We had to film the next
holding
morning.
everything together.
Yeah.
And I think Tanner described it as they were doing shots for like a fallen comrade of Rupert till the sun came up.
Correct.
So
That's correct. Yes.
So that's correct.
He's-
Okay. So we go outside and I just remember we were blessed with so many incredible camera people and team members. I just remember looking over at Felipe, who I think it was Felipe. Wasn't it Felipe's camera that had Tanner that day at the top of the hill?
Probably, yeah.
And Felipe is he's such a great guy. One of my favorite people I've ever met and worked with. And a genuine sweetheart. Like he has care in his eyes, but I don't know if I'd ever seen him laugh that hard while he was trying to do this shot, because the whole time he's like, we can't do it. Tanner's drunk. Tanner's still drunk in this shot. And we were up on this private little piece of land. And I think what y'all essentially settled on, because y'all would stop and like walk over there, and we're all just like, oh God, the sun comes up so early here. And someone's like, it's 10:30. Right. And so I had not had that much to drink. I was fine. But like Tanner was legitimately still drunk.
Yeah. So it was Rupert. That's why he was down the hill and it was
Yes.
head of the snowbank.
So they basically decided, like, okay, let's just have Tanner. He either drove like 4 feet this way or 4 feet that way. And we stopped and we essentially waited till like 2:00. He went and slept in that RV, I think, until we could get him good enough and sobered up enough to where he could do the rest of the show.
Yep. He took a nap. We took a nap on the back of the the cube truck on a tailgate. I got a shot of that, and then he eventually did his backwards driving shot through the woods.
Yes, so
In the
sketchy.
Jeep. It was
And like I think we had done our part, so we were just like waiting because
Yeah.
we just needed to do this one exit on the thing, and then we got again to the real part of the race. But raced ourselves all the way to the Trump Hotel. It was brand new at that time, and yeah, so wild, man.
and we cut loose that night too. And then I mean you did say we cut loose quite a bit, because back then I don't know how we did it. I know you didn't do it as much as we did, but it was like a nightly thing where we would drink every freaking night.
Oh, y'all did. I can't, man.
Yeah.
I couldn't roll like that. And also, like 90% of the time was coming from either covering a race or, pardon me, I was either going racing home to get home to Rachel and the girls, or I had just come from work. Like I always had something else going on. So very rarely was I like, yeah, let's go out. Like I would go eat dinner, go to bed, because I just didn't have anything left, but y'all were some hard chargers. And y'all would like, there was a lot of times we'd be places where no one had to drive anywhere as soon as we wrapped, and y'all had beers like, okay, that's a wrap. You could hear that beer open.
I don't know.
Sometimes you'd have them in your vest.
Yeah, I'd be handing them out. You know it, dude. I don't
Ugh.
know. I don't know how we did that. But the handful of memories that I have of you in the desert or wherever we were so much fun, dude. So I can't thank you enough. I mean, there's so many other stories that we could talk about. There's just way too many, and that just shows how much fun we had, on any given day, on any given shoot.
It was incredible, man. It really was. It was like we all joined this fraternity, sorority, just lifelong thing. Because really, you think about it, whether it's Tab or Janine or, gosh, Lakowski. What was the redhead that was in the office? Jess. Like, there was so many people that we worked on this show for years and years and years together. Even Sheila Navi when we started.
Sheila,
everybody.
yeah.
But it was the most fun I think probably any of us have ever had while being the hardest work we've ever done at the same time. Like those 2 points were always like ting 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 and they'd go together. And man, there were some hard days where we broke stuff or stuff wasn't working, or you'd be in the middle of it and just be like, how are we ever going to end this? How will we make good television out of it? And then you see it and you go like, well, all right, that's really fun.
It turned out okay.
We did all right. Were you in, and I know you're trying to wrap it up. Were you in, were you in Detroit?
Was I in Detroit? Which time? Yes, I was in Detroit. Are you
Remember
talking
when
about? Go ahead. Let me check
What,
your memory.
you go.
Well, I was going to say there's a couple of points. When we got kicked out of Detroit, we talk about that with Tanner. Before we got kicked out of Detroit, we lost a key to a vehicle that we couldn't find. After hours of searching for it, come to find out it was in the coin pocket of Tiny Dancer. But I think what you might be talking about is Sergeant Stinson when we got kicked out of Detroit when we were there filming, or was there a different time?
No, that one was great. And I watched that. I enjoyed that story. I just remember being there and Tanner being like, these guys in there told me, you need to get out of here right now. Like, don't be in this building. Like, okay. Was that the GM show where we were trying to get them to bring a car back, or that was a different time? Oh,
No,
that
that
was
was
the
different.
cop car episode.
Yeah, that was Cop Car episode when we
Okay.
stuck you. And, yeah.
That was the worst when I got tear gassed.
Gassed.
That sucked so bad.
I felt so bad.
It was funny when we went out to the Eaton Proving Grounds and we were trying to convince GM to bring a car back. I had the Roadmaster wagon, Tanner had the Fiero, and then Adam had like an old 88 or whatever. Do you remember we filled those cars up with water? Like we had sealed them all up.
That's right. Yes, I do remember that.
When I watched that, I laughed so hard. We cut holes in the roof and tried to fill these cars up with water.
Yeah.
And I had to take my glasses off because the goggles wouldn't fit over them. So I can't, anytime I had to take my glasses off for anything, it was going to be bad. The perpetual joke you saw, you lived the fat joke of, guys, can we just get one helmet that fits right? No. Like they would all show up like a yarmulke, like ding. I'm like, where's the rest of it? I can't get this on. But I laughed so hard at that one. My car, because it was the biggest, it held the most water, but we were filling at a rate where it wouldn't fill more than what was coming out. But I didn't really understand how much was in there, but I knew the water was like right here. So I'm trying to drive the car as we take off with the thing. I've still got the snorkel in my mouth, even though I'm above the water. I was so afraid of drowning in that car while I was driving. And the kicker for all of us was like, I don't know, 6 months later, that car ended up on Craigslist.
What? It was sold on Craigslist?
I think it went to the junkyard or something. Someone bought it and they're like, water damage, 96 Buick Roadmaster, silicone everywhere, still runs. 1,200 or whatever. And I was like, who would buy that? We siliconed every window. The doors were like sealed shut, everything. But somebody was trying to sell that sucker. And I thought, well, that's what Top Gear was like. It was just always like that. Oh, last one. One of my favorites.
I forgot about that episode. That's hilarious.
Do you remember how much fun we had at the infield of the NASCAR race in Charlotte?
Do I remember? That's where I became a true NASCAR fan. When me and Seth were on top of a Suburban with our shirts off when the cars were going around. I mean, you were Mr. freaking NASCAR and you taking us through the infield. Oh, yes.
I think that was the first time that everybody realized, like, oh, you don't just like work in NASCAR. Like everybody in NASCAR knows you and
100%.
loves you. Like,
100%.
These are my people. And we'd walk up and people would just hand us beers.
Dude, you're like the fucking mayor, the NASCAR mayor, where everyone knows Rutledge. We're walking around. We met some dude that just wanted to be a part of us. So he just drugged the cooler for us everywhere. I mean, and we were like getting invited all these buses, these cool RVs that were tweaked. And I mean, it was so cool. And seeing you in your element, that was really cool.
Oh yeah, man.
With your people.
It was funny because we were driving in and around Charlotte, like kind of Charlotte area. And, I'd spent a lot of time up there, obviously covering NASCAR. My friend Kyle Petty living up there. Like we had spent a lot of time around there. but then we end up like at the drag strip across the street. One of the most
Oh,
violent things
Oh my God.
we've ever done was throw a solo cup in front of a aircraft propeller powered fan, which was a hurricane fan.
Yeah, so
Do you-
let me just, do I remember? So let me just back up, because Gary, good hair Gary, always wanted to get me out there testing shit that you guys had to do. So he put me in everything, and I literally, I wish we had footage of me standing there, because you guys participated, because all the water and all the shit you guys were throwing to make sure it was safe for the hosts to go on. And then, so since it was safe, then we threw you guys in front of there, where you guys had to climb, like Adam had to climb up into his Flatiron building and change
Right.
into his slickers. You had to
I was trying to assemble my tent, right? I had to stretch my Honda Civic wagon.
Oh my God, I just remembered that. Your Honda Civic wagon, dude. No. It was horrible. I mean, and everyone's
So I was
throwing
trying to
shit.
basically, I was trying to assemble like basically a canvas tent in, I think there were 3 total fans, and I believe they had been used on the movie like Cape Fear or something.
Yeah, they were huge. They were massive, big fans. I mean, no fucking
Yes. They were so big. So I don't think people even watching it, like you can hear us laughing all the time. You cannot imagine the force of the winds with 3 of them pointed at you as you're like, let me just put the thing up. It's like I'd go to like open a flap and the whole flap would just be gone, right? Meanwhile, we had like red Solo cups. We had plastic lawn chairs. We had anything that could be like normal debris that might get mixed up. But you'd throw a red Solo cup with the end open to the fan, and it was a bullet. Just king, king, and everyone's dying laughing except the person getting hit. And I don't know why they had like water, so they're also spraying water towards you. It was somehow less than freezing cold. It was the coldest shit you'd ever felt, coming at you at 60 miles an hour while you're trying to finish this task. And all you really want to do every time, I just want to beat Tanner. And he's got that big rocket on the roof of his car that just
penis.
looks like a dong. And so the whole time, you're like, it's so phallic. He's the most wiener obsessed dude ever. And you're like, I just want to beat him at something. And then he like, boop, pops right out the top, and you're like, all right, we're done. Let's all go home. But that was such a fun, that whole week was so fun, but getting to walk you guys around and like intro you to NASCAR fans and show you like, this is what makes this sport so special. Yeah, the racing's cool, but the racing's only 3 hours on Sunday or Saturday afternoon. But these people, like, they show up for this party and they create this mobile city. And, you know, like, I bought a beanie that night from some lady that was, like, crocheting it. Still have it. Like,
that's
it's
awesome.
just,
Wait.
it's such a wild thing we got to do.
Did we mention the name of where we were in the infield? Isn't it called Redneck Hill?
Yes.
Redneck Hill, because that's where everyone makes their homemade shanties and their RVs. And that's played into the whole homemade RV episode that you guys had your homemade RVs there. Oh, my God.
We were right at home there.
You guys
We
did
were right at home. Do you remember when, wasn't it like,
I mean, the shacks that they built were something else. They were extreme. There were ones that were like they were cardboard and barely standing. And there were ones that are just really bitching and remodeled buses and, you know, really cool stuff.
what I loved about that particular show is all the cars are cool. Like, I sketched mine on a napkin. Like, that was how we built it. Because so many times, for people that don't know, like, they would send us an email and say, hey guys, you've got $3,000 to go 150 miles an hour. What do you want to get? And I was always the first one to write back. And I would be like, yeah. So, and I realized, like, okay, so a Q45 will go 147, but it's wind limited. So if I could find like a nitrous kit, so I'm like, here's what I'm looking for. And then I get on Craigslist and I start sending ones. Meanwhile, the other two are like, what goes 150 miles an hour? I don't know. So like, that time was when they're like, hey, if you made your own RV, what would you make? So I literally got out a napkin we were doing another shoot and I sketched out and I think I gave it to Tabitha. I was like, yeah, what about this? and I would like make it look like a miniature Winnebago because I was always a big Honda guy and Toyota guy, and like anything that was cheap and a fun import I could work on, I liked. So I always wanted an old Civic wagon, and that was how that idea came to be. I was like, oh, we could just cut it in half because everything's on the front and then there's just brakes on the back. Like that'd be super easy. So that's how we built that whole thing. But it was so fun to think about that. Poor David Silberman. There was another guy, I don't remember his name. They must have looked at 150, 200 cars for me easily because it was Tim. You remember Tim?
Timmy, yeah, Timbo.
Yeah, he would have to, those two would go look at cars and buy cars for us all the time. But like, man, what a chore that would have been because I picked obscure cars that I wanted to own.
All the time, yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I don't care if this car sucks. I don't even, like, they would never tell us what we were doing with stuff. So you could go in thinking like, oh, it's going to be this kind of a race. And turns out, no, it's how much can you put on the inside? And you're like, oh, well, it didn't need to be fast. I needed something bigger. And you're like, oh, well. So it was a really funny thing and how that worked. But that was just such a perfect episode of crap. Adam blew the airbags on that Flatiron building in like 30 seconds at that RV park when we first started day one. And then the fact that we get it on the racetrack and I think the wind could have flipped it over, but I was like, any minute Adam's flipping that bitch over. And sure enough, he did. It was incredible.
That was that's one of the best days of my life. And I say that is because to tee it up, we were at this short dirt oval track in North Carolina.
The dirt track at Charlotte.
The dirt track at Charlotte. And first, even to get there, the guy threw his keys to vehicles. He's like, hey, do you guys mind driving around and flatten all the dirt?
Y'all got to pack the track.
We're supposed to be flattening it down, not drifting around like jackholes. So the whole crew's drifting around these shitty vehicles. And I had this great van shot. Gary brought me a flag. But cut to you guys are racing 3 NASCAR drivers. The 3 NASCAR drivers, remind me who they are?
Kenny Wallace.
Oh, no, Kenny. Jeez.
Yeah, you love Kenny.
Yeah.
Hermie Sadler.
That's right, Hermie Sadler. That's right.
Hermie was so much fun. And then the craziest man I've ever met, Max Pappas.
That dude, Max Pappas they went nuts. And we only had him for like 10 minutes.
You cannot hand a former NASCAR driver any vehicle on a racetrack and not expect them to go all out. But we gave them shitty old RVs. And within, what would you say, 45 seconds, they had mostly destroyed 2/3 of them?
Yeah, we literally had it for like 15 minutes. Like it was something stupid.
I swear one of the windshields broke within like 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because they're these huge houses and one of them just went shattered. You're like, okay. So like we're on the radio trying to tell them to calm down. Good damn luck. Those guys had so much fun. And I can't remember, did we flip any of those?
No, we didn't flip any of those. He came close. I think he came close where he went sideways and went up and teetered and then went back down. I was like,
that's right.
And then when Adam went down, it was like, I was like, holy shit. Like, just what you're saying. Like, he's going to go down. He's going to flip it. And then he got bumped. And then it flipped and went on his side. And everyone was just like, what the fuck just happened? Like, shit, Adam, are you okay? And as soon as he popped up, he was like, yeah, I'm okay. And we kept rolling. We didn't even stop. We kept going. Because he just stayed there.
He's just in there.
Yeah.
And by the way, like, we had seat belts and I think we had helmets, but that was like a huge bench seat. It also has like a steel pylon coming through it to hold the Flatiron building on. There's no way any of that made any sense. It was not safe, but man, time of our lives.
But so after we only had our drivers for like literally 15 minutes and then they had to leave. Mm-hmm. And then they stuck me and Jeremy and then one other person in the other RVs. And then we had to get more content. So all of us kept zipping around while Adam stayed there in the Flatiron building. I remember ripping around in that thing, drifting that motor home, just thinking, what the fuck am I doing? This is the coolest thing. And then looking down and seeing there's Rhett with it like a thing extended, like loud as shit.
Yeah. I think I was stuck. I think mine got stuck in the infield or something. I was out fast. I don't think I made it. I think Tanner. Surprise. Tanner won.
Tanner.
What are the chance? A professional race car driver kicked your ass.
And his penis Porsche winning. Oh my God. Well,
dude, you know what's funny? I got to do the Toyota Pro Celebrity Race. That's what that helmet is from. That's the year I won. It took me getting in that race and then winning it for people to be like, oh, I thought you sucked at driving. And I was like, no, I'm with one of the greatest drivers in the world who kicks my ass at everything, but I don't suck. He's just really good.
Right. Yeah.
That was I just remember like that being such a thing for me of like, have y'all seen the show? I did okay. Like,
and if I wasn't doing
cool
okay,
moments.
I was probably directed not to do okay. Hello.
I know.
You know?
I mean, I hit a couple things. I want to toot my own horn. I did real well in big rigs, and that was one that I think everyone was like, "Damn, son, you got a future in you."
Yeah, in case this doesn't happen, you just go down and do some long hauling, no problem.
You still got that number? That school? What is it? Truck Masters? Yeah, I might need that.
Oh, Rutledge Wood. Well, dude, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and sharing some memories with me. And I mean, it's just so natural talking to you and just laughing at you and laughing with you. And
listen, brother, you kept me alive. You kept me safe. And you helped make an incredible show that still, I'm so proud that we made something that generations of people have been able to enjoy together, families. Like it's bonkers what we got to do. I hope we get the chance to go do it again someday. I think now's the time for it to be great.
right.
And if we do, you're gonna have to get that vest out and bring that tiny bottle of tahine. Thank you for introducing us to tahine amongst the many other things that you taught us. I just want to give you a little credit. I've never seen a person come up with more weird things who knows more stuff. Like, I feel like I know a lot of weird things. You were always my match of like, oh, really, Donnie? Where did that fact come from? And then I look over and you're driving a train. And I was like, oh my God, this guy, you remind me, you served in what?
Army, infantry, old guard.
Served in the infantry. Then you drove trains.
Drove some freight trains for a hot minute. Yep.
Like, you've been in TV. Like, dude,
We both are
there's
DJs.
nothing.
We're DJs as well.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
see?
I
See,
mean,
man?
what can't you do? Brother, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for all those long days and all the insane travel and everything else. You and so many other people made our show incredible. And I love you forever.
Thank you, Rutledge. Single tier. You're the best. I heart you. Well, hey, man, thanks for coming. Guys, don't forget to check out my website. It's gofordonny.com. And on that website, I do have, just like you, I checked out your website. I just have some nice little, swaggy things, some nice little stickers, Go for Donny.
Oh, the radio.
I also have, some hats here in case everyone wants a hat.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll send you a hat, Rutledge.
Look at that. We got hoodies too. Oh, go for Donny indeed.
It's all about the swag. So don't forget to check it out. And in case you didn't know, this is not just only a normal audio podcast. It's also a video podcast, and it airs on my YouTube channel, Go for Donny. That's where I go for Donny, and switch to channel 2, which reminds me, we're going to switch over to channel 2 so we can have a little chatter. Yes. So remember, Rutledge, as my mother-in-law always says, hashtag HTFU.
I live by it, babe. HTFU.
FU. I heart you, man. Thanks, Rutledge.
Love you, brother.
All right, later, man.
Production for Donny.
Go for Donny.
Locations for Donny.
Go for Donny.
Habitat for Donny.
Go for Donny.
Hey, Donny, what the hell are they doing?